All right, welcome back. Welcome back to our series on helping kids overcome reading difficulties through the science of reading simplified. My goal is to help parents and teachers learn all that they need to help kids read and succeed. So while I work with children myself, as you know, I'm the author of 23 books on English orthography, spelling, reading, writing, grammar, and vocabulary. And I'm also the founder of ScholarSkills Learning Center, which is an online and in-person after-school remediation program for reading, and also the founder of the Academic Gym, which I showed you in our last episode. If you didn't see it, you might want to just go over here to T.A.G. Uh-oh, that's still learning, that's still loading. Right, and how do you get there? Someone asked me before. Click on the link below. There should be a link, or if not, simply go to just punch in the academic T.A.G, the Academic Gym. Just type that in, or just say that into your browser, and you'll see all that we do in a multisensory way to help kids overcome reading difficulties. And T.A.G serves parents. It also serves schools. So we help schools achieve proficiency by helping their kids by implementing T.A.G in gym class, believe it or not, to help kids overcome reading difficulties. So we turn gym into the academic gym. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful that these kids can learn this way, if I may say so myself. It's phonics, fitness, and fun combined as one. But now, apart from this commercial break, my job is to let you understand, help you understand all that it takes to help kids learn to read. So let's go back. We began with phonological awareness, which is a sense of sound that kids need. As kids listen to you speak, as they listen to you read, they begin to understand that what you are saying consists of sounds. The next step, which is an intensification of that process, is what we call phonemic awareness, or the process by which children learn how to distinguish the distinct sounds that we use to create all of the spoken words in our language. And if you recall, if you don't, here's a quick refresher, that phonemes are speech sounds. They are the building blocks of all words. We use 44 phonemes, or speech sounds, to create and say every word in our language. So we use these 44 speech sounds to make and say our words. And we use the word cat, for example. We say the word cat. But the word cat consists of 3 speech sounds, or 3 phonemes. K, a, t. And our brain will process not just the word cat, but the word cat, and break that word down into its sounds in order to have meaning or to make sense of the word cat. So phonemes are speech sounds. Why am I telling you this? Because phonemes are the building blocks of all words, and indeed the building block of all literacy. Phonemic awareness is the single most important, it is the essential step. It is the most important element in helping kids learn to read, prevent reading difficulties, or to help them overcome reading difficulties. I cannot say this enough. If your children understand the phonemes, if they can hear the 44 phonemes or speech sounds, and if they could translate or convert those phonemes into letter symbols, then they will master reading, writing, and speaking. You cannot build a house without strong foundations, and phonemes are the foundations of all words, and they are the foundation of our approach to teaching words, to teaching kids to decode words, to teaching kids to spell words, to teaching kids to understand words. You have to start at the foundations. And since phonemes or speech sounds are the foundations of the very language we speak, we must teach children those sounds in order for them to understand the language we're trying to teach them to read and write. Kids don't need to learn how to speak unless they have a severe disability. They come out of the womb learning how to speak for the most part. But what they need to understand is how to translate those sounds, or how we have translated those sounds, those 44 sounds, into letters that create words. And what we learned in our last video is that letters are symbols that we use to write words down. Or as we said, letters are symbols for sounds. Letters write sounds. Letters spell sounds. And if you recall, we took a little journey through some letters and the sounds they spell. So we have this letter O, but it's meaningless. It doesn't matter if your kids know what O is, unless they understand that O is a letter that stands for the sound ah, like an otter or pot. And if you will notice that O, this sound ah, is spelled with the letter O, but it can also be spelled with the letters O-U-G-H, as in the word ought, the letters A-U as in taught, and A-W as in paw, the cat's paw. So you see, teaching them the sound is wonderful, because then you can teach them all the spellings or the ways in which that sound can be written down or represented. The power of literacy begins with phonemic awareness. Teach your kids that letters stand for sounds that we write down. When I say phonemic awareness, let me come back to my chart now, the chart that we're working with. We're still at step 1 here. When I say phonemic awareness, I mean the process by which children learn how to distinguish those distinct sounds that we use to create all of the spoken words in our language. They do that by listening to us, by reading, as we read to them, as we rhyme to them, as we speak to them, but also by explicit instruction in matching symbols or letters to sounds. The alphabet is simply a code that was developed 5,000-6,000 years ago, really, as men began to write things down, as civilizations began to record speech in their own types of alphabetic writings. But what's essential is that this technology of writing sounds down is encoded by what we call the alphabet. So think of playing the piano. We have notes, right? We have sounds on the piano. Kids can press the keyboard. The notes represent those sounds. Well, in the same way, the sounds we speak are represented by alphabetic letters. This is so important. I'm going to labor here because this is the foundation. Even before we get to phonics, we're talking about phonemic awareness. And this combination of letters, P-H-O-N-E, always refers to sounds. This is a big idea. Because if we're going to use what's called phonics, we need to know what that means. Phonics is the method of teaching reading by showing students how to associate sounds with symbols known as alphabetic letters. That's what phonics is. Phonics is the name of the method of teaching we use to show kids how to associate the sounds we make with the letters that spell those sounds. Students learn how to sound, say, and spell each word rapidly, accurately, and precisely by identifying its sequence of sounds and the letter symbols that represent those sounds. So again, if I say dog, well, that's a sequence of sounds put together. And if I can take the letters D-O-G and match them to that sequence of sounds, because D stands for D, A is represented by O, and G stands for G. So I have D, A, G. Phonics is teaching students how to match letters to sounds. And then students learn how to decode spoken sounds by translating them into written letters and words. And they decode written words by translating them into sequences of sounds. So our key term for today is phonics. What is phonics? It's simply the method of teaching reading by showing students how to associate sounds with symbols known as alphabetic letters. You might never have really thought about the alphabet as symbols, but that's all they are. They are lifeless symbols. They don't make sounds. They don't say sounds. They spell sounds. They represent sounds. And so when your kids learn the alphabet, if they learn to connect with the symbol, with the sound it spells or represents, you've gone a long way to helping them build a strong foundation for literacy. So that's what phonics represents, a method of teaching reading by showing students how to associate sounds with symbols known as alphabetic letters.